Well, the business end of the season has well and truly picked up. Lots of fixtures, lots of results flying in. Welcome to another episode of the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services. And what an episode we have. We'll be reflecting on Derby Day delight for Spartans as they thump Edinburgh City at Meadowbank Leisure Centre, and looking forward to this Saturday's game against Stranraer. We'll be hearing from Brian from Stranraer. We'll also be hearing from Greg McEwan and his new role at the Spartans Football Club. But first, the best place to start, a team that is on a 6-game unbeaten run. We'll be hearing from Spartans Women's head coach Jack Beesley as he reflects on this season's performances on the Spartan Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services. Well, there is no better place to start on this week's episode of the Spartan Army podcast with the team who are 6 wins in a row. Yes, that's right. Jack Beesley will be here in just a little moment, but his team went back-to-back wins once again over last week. Last time we were on the Spartan Army podcast, we were previewing Spartans' journey to Dundee to take on Dundee United, and it was a convincing win for Spartans as they came out 3-0 victors against Dundee United. Hannah Cunningham, Emily Caddill and Ava Crawford all on the score sheet in a player of the match performance from Sarah Cleland. Spartans sit second in the SWPL2. On the game against Dundee United, Rona Douglas spoke with Alice, Rona saying not our best performance on Wednesday night, but one thing you cannot question is the character in this team. They dug in when it mattered, battled right to the end and found a way to get the job done. Delighted, Rona said, to come away with the clean sheet, 3 goals and most importantly a big 3 points next on to Sunday. Well, on to Sunday they went, and Spartans back at home, this time facing Gartcairn, and it was the same result as Wednesday night. Spartans winning by 3-0. It was Chloe Hutchison, Emily Caddill on the score sheet once again, and then captain Robin McCafferty scoring late on for Spartans to pick up all 3 points. Robin McCafferty even earning a place in the team of the week in the SWPL. So another 3 points for Spartans, another clean sheet for Spartans as well. Only conceded 7 in 23 games this season, and as I mentioned, it is 6 wins in a row for Spartans. Alice again picked up with Emma McMurdo, the player of the match from Sunday. Emma said, although we didn't start as we would have liked, I thought we grew into the game and the second half really reflected who we are. Controlling play, creating chances, every game matters. She goes on to say that, so I'm so proud of the girls to come away with the 3 points and another clean sheet. We know what we need to improve on, so the break gives us a chance to recover and prepare for Kilmarnock. Well, Alice from the Spartans Women's media team caught up with Jack Beesley, reflecting on the result on Sunday.
So Jack, another 3 points game today. How do you feel today's clash with Gartcairn went?
Yeah, delighted again for the 3 points. Obviously, at this stage of the season, that's the most important thing. I thought the second half, we were, aside from maybe one chance they had in our box, I thought we controlled the second half pretty well. At half time, as a group, we weren't particularly happy with our first half performance. It's just kind of a nothing first half. We were quite loose on the ball. We were way too passive without the ball and conceding too much territory, when I felt we could have been a little bit braver in terms of our press. But yeah, to have another 3-goal win and another clean sheet, it's been a good start to the split in terms of that kind of first set of 5 fixtures where we've not conceded a goal. We've won 5 out of 5. So yeah, delighted, like I say, overall to get the 3 points.
And a 2-week break until the next fixture. Any main focuses for the team that you pinpointed today?
Yes, it's the way the fixtures are done. I don't think helps anyone, especially if you've won a few games. You want to continue that momentum. So to have a big break is not ideal. So in terms of for us, we just need to make sure we keep standards high at training. People that have played a lot of minutes, we can hopefully try and ease off them a little bit and have them back at their best possible levels when we play Kilmarnock. And for everyone else, there's a good chance to maybe try and get a little bit extra training work in the legs. So yeah, just a case of trying to tick over, trying to make sure we continue momentum, and just remember when we get to the next game to try and continue doing things that have served us well so far in the first 5.
So we're back on the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services, here with Spartans Women's head coach Jack Beesley. Hello Jack, how you doing?
Good, Kyle, how are you?
Yeah, all good mate, all good, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today. Spartans Women, much change this season, a different league as well. How have you found it so far?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a challenging season for different reasons than last year in terms of, like you mentioned, adapting to different teams, different styles of play. As we always do at Spartans, trying to integrate a lot of young players who are kind of taking that first step into senior football. So, yeah, really, really exciting. A lot of challenges along the way, but yeah, I've really enjoyed the challenge of this season, as have the players.
And there's been a lot of different personality in terms of players as well, what you had last season, a younger team. How has that been for you as a coach and your coaching staff to evolve to such a big change?
Yeah, fine. I mean, I think it's, certainly in the female side of the game, for a part-time team, there's probably going to be a lot of change every year because every single year you're either trying to get promoted or trying not to get relegated. So depending on how those go, naturally there's a lot of turnover. So, last season we obviously rebuilt a squad that done really, really well. Unfortunately, we didn't stay in the league. So naturally, when a lot of players move on, you're at that kind of rebuild stage again. But in terms of working with young players, again, Spartans has always been a club that's put faith in young players. We had, the youngest average age in SWPL 1 last year and the most minutes for under 21s last year. Again, a young squad this year. So, yeah, it's probably not so much adapting, probably. It's more just, I guess, recognising that we are going to have different players at different levels of experience, and the young players can bring qualities that the more experienced ones can, and vice versa. So yeah, just about integrating and trying to get everyone pulling in the same direction.
And started off the season so well. I believe it was the opening 7 league games went undefeated. Kilmarnock, who currently set 7 points clear of us in first place, we're currently second. We played them, of course, a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke to you then, actually after the game, and it was just they're so frustrating to play against. Is that the difference between the two sides? Why they sit first and Spartans sit second?
I mean, credit to Kilmarnock. Up until we played them recently, they hadn't lost a single game all season, so they're top of the league because they deserve to be. But I think from our end, it's it's been very fine margins. The games we haven't won have either been 0-0 draws or 1-0 defeats. So we've never been far away, and in both those first Kilmarnock games we played them, we had some good chances where the scoreline could have been different. So yeah, I think in any league, once you build a bit of momentum and you're winning every week, it almost becomes habitual. So for them, starting so well and winning, and I suppose putting that distance between themselves and everyone else, it gives you something to hold on to. But yeah, I think other teams have shown in recent weeks it's a very competitive league, and the last couple of times, for ourselves in Burrymuir, we've come out 1 goal on the correct side of those games against Kilmarnock. So yeah, they're top because they deserve to be. But I think it's been a very competitive league on any other given day. That gap could have been bigger, it could have been smaller. Yeah, so it's been very close, and I think if you look at a lot of the games, especially between the top 6 teams, there's been a lot of games that have been won by a single goal. So yeah, all credit to Kilmarnock. They're obviously top by some distance at the moment. So yeah, for us it's just trying to get as many points on the board as we can in the remaining games.
And the recent games, we were just talking before coming recording on this podcast. It's 8 wins in a row, which I believe is equals a club record for Spartans Women. 6 clean sheets in a row as well, including the 2 games recently back to back away to Dundee United, 3-0 victory. Same scoreline on Sunday just passed against Gartcairn as well. That's on average 0.30 goals conceded in the league per game this season. Is that something that you focus on to strengthen the defensive area? Because in SWPL 1 you see maybe not the professional and full-time teams concede a heck of a lot of goals. So it's such a difference from last season, or even looking at the SWPL teams this season in the bottom half of the league. So is it really building up for the SWPL 1 in case we do get promoted?
No, not especially. I think there's probably a combination of reasons. Even last year we had the best defensive record in the bottom 6 by quite a distance. We had some 1-0 defeats to Rangers, to Celtic. I think maybe a 2-0 in there to Glasgow City at some point. So yeah, I think last year we were defensively sound. Fortunately this year we kept a hold a lot of those players at that end of the pitch, in Alicia, Rona, Robin, Sarah, and then supplemented that with Chloe and Hannah and Lily. So defensively, yeah, I wouldn't say it's something we work on. We're probably quite the opposite, to be honest. And our challenges this season at times have been scoring goals. So I think we're fortunate that defensively and in goals, with two good goalkeepers in Liam Mara as well, that if chances get that far, then we've got a lot of confidence in the group to stop the ball ending up in the back of the net. But even in a lot of games, we're not even conceding a great deal of chances, and I think that's credit to the whole team. Lots of energetic players up front that press a lot and don't give teams opportunities to build really, and similar to the midfield. And then in terms of having that experience at the back has certainly helped us. So I wouldn't say it's something we work on, but something that's been very, very important. We're talking about, there's been some games where we've lost 1-0 or drawn 0-0, but those 0-0s could have quite easily been 1-0 defeats, or 1-0 victories in recent times could have quite easily been 0-0 draws. So I think it'd be good. You want to score goals and not concede any. That's obviously a nice combination. But we're very proud of our defensive record, and it's something that we work on, certainly on a Sunday, in terms of working really hard to make sure other teams don't get chances.
And try to keep the momentum going, because obviously recently we've had games Wednesday, Sunday, trying to fulfil the fixtures in the SWPL2 this season. However, now we've got a sort of big gap, and there seems to be big gaps post-split fixtures as well. How challenging is it for you as a coach? Frustrating sometimes, even for the players, to continue that momentum. Our next league game comes on 24th of April, which is a Friday night away to Kilmarnock. How frustrating and challenging is it to keep that momentum going?
Yeah, it's challenging, especially when you're winning, and we're obviously on a good run. You want the next games to be coming all the time and continue that momentum. So it is a challenge, but for the teams, whether it's SWPL or SWPL2 that are in the top six, it's better for us. The guys that are in the bottom four, they've got a game every 3 weeks sometimes, so we're quite fortunate in that sense. So I mean, probably not the forum for it today, but there's been a lot said about some of the changes that have been made. I don't necessarily agree with them. I think especially for your part-time teams, trying to sell projects to players and saying, if we do go up, you're going to finish bottom four, you'll get a game every 3 weeks for the last 2 months of the season, 3 months of the season, doesn't develop players, doesn't help anyone, doesn't help clubs. So I think it's certainly not ideal having a top six and a bottom four. It's not ideal having such big gaps between games, and then when you do come back, you have a Sunday free and you play the Friday, Wednesday instead, just to accommodate some other clubs. So it is a challenge. However, like I say, it's good that at least we're winning those games, or we're managing to win games on Sundays and on Wednesdays. And we've got some good hard work on the training ground leading up to that Kilmarnock game. But when you're on a good run, you would certainly prefer the games not to be 3 weeks apart.
Definitely, and of course the support makes all the difference as well. Recently we've seen down at the Vanlock Community Stadium over 1,300 fans in for the Spartans Men taking on East Kilbride. So the fan base is there in North Edinburgh, and in past games we've had some great hospitality days, with hopefully some hospitality future games to come as well. So we see that there's a fan base there. For listeners who are listening to the podcast today who might have never been down for an SWPL2 game, how much would that mean for yourself and the girls for them to come and support the team on Sundays?
Yeah, obviously in the female game it's still an element of growth that's got a long way to go. 1,300 for that most recent game, but I remember a few years ago when I played for Spartans, there was only a couple hundred at the games, and most of them were family and directors. So it does show that if you can put on a product or play at a level that's attractive enough that people will come. I think the challenge in the female game is obviously that's still growing. We play on a Sunday when a lot of times there's big games in men's calendar, whether it's domestically, whether it's on the television. So we're very, very grateful for our loyal band of supporters that do come home and away every single game, and clearly I think we've certainly got a group that the bigger the game feels, the more they thrive off it. So the bigger the crowd there is in a game, I think that definitely fuels our players to want to go and give a little bit more. And the support means a lot. So I think if you mentioned about the defensive record, but also we've got a good goal scoring record going forward, especially in recent games. So I think if people did come down and watch, they would certainly enjoy the nature of the style of football we try and play, the competitiveness of the games. And we've had some people that have come down and enjoyed it so much they keep coming back. So the more of that, the merrier.
Definitely. And bit about Jack Beesley, of course, as you mentioned there, Spartans player for many years, 239 appearances, 75 goals, I believe, 120 assists for the Spartans as well. Some player back in the day, Jack Beesley. Even had your own summer and holiday camp named after you, called Bend It Like Beesley as well. So some great accolades there with the Spartans winning low and league titles as well. Many late goals in the Scottish Cup too. Coming back to the Spartans family, I think over a year and a half ago you got appointed. Obviously you've done a lot of girls and women's youth. What was the decision to make the jump to senior management for Spartans Women?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't something that was particularly on my radar at the time. I was really enjoying things at Hearts, working with the 17s, a lot of which we've kind of bore fruits from that relationship, obviously coming here with last year and this year as well. So yeah, it wasn't something that was necessarily on my radar, but I think I'm an ultra competitive guy. So when the opportunity came to go and work in a first team environment where I wouldn't say results always matter, but it certainly mattered a little bit more, but also in an environment where it is focused on development was an attractive proposition. A bit of, I suppose, a step into the unknown for me in terms of first experience as a head coach working in adult football. Although I'd been assistant head coach at Broxburn working with the men's team, it was obviously a different step in terms of being that lead role and stepping away from youth football. But no, I've absolutely loved it. It's obviously a club I know well, and I think that that was obviously a big reason for, I suppose, me being approached, but also secondly feeling supported enough to come in and do that. And yeah, I've loved every minute of it. I think, like I say, I really enjoy being in an environment where the weekend does matter and the results do matter, but also enjoying working with not just young players, but players that really want to improve regardless of their age, and have lots of room for improvement and trying to work hard on the training pitch to make players better as well. So yeah, it's certainly a move I've really, really enjoyed.
Next game is against Kilmarnock away on Friday night, so if you are down on the west coast of Scotland, Friday the 24th of April, be sure to pop into Rugby Park against Kilmarnock. And then our next home game is a Wednesday night one against Queen's Park on the 29th of April, 19:45 kickoff. Jack, promotion race, you just have to take it game by game, don't you?
Yeah, it's an old cliche, but yeah, in terms of promotion race, I think a couple of people recently have been getting a little bit giddy about Kilmarnock dropping points, but Kilmarnock are still going to win the league. So we said at the start of the split, for us it was about second was our new first, to try and finish second, and I suppose just give you on paper a little less to do in that playoff battle in terms of playing less games. So at the moment we've put ourselves in a good position with that 8-point gap to Queen's Park and Boroughmuir, but like I said previously, the games are so tight in the top six that 8 points can evaporate quite quickly. So yeah, for us, going to Kilmarnock isn't about trying to win the game to close the gap on them. It's about winning the game to try and maintain our gap on the teams below us. And last time we went down there, we felt we played arguably one of our best performances this season. Unfortunately, just missed a few chances and got beat 1-0 from a scrappy goal from our perspective. So yeah, we know how hard it is. You're going to the team that's the runaway leaders at home, so there's no harder game in our league. But yeah, on the back of our good start post-split, hopefully the team are feeling confident. I know the team are certainly up for the battle and up for going down there and trying to give us good account of ourselves. And then, like you mentioned, following that up against Queen's Park, which is always a hard game, and although we beat them quite convincingly through there a few weeks ago, Queen's Park definitely weren't anywhere near their best, and we probably had one of our best games in terms of how we played with the ball. So yeah, that's going to be much, much harder when we play them. So under no illusions, we're on a good run of form, but for every game you win, the next game becomes even harder and even harder and even harder. So it's just about pushing on and trying to make sure we focus on the next game.
Definitely. So that next game is the 29th of April against Queen's Park. Tickets now available on the Fanbase app for that one. The next game is the 24th of April, like we said, against Kilmarnock. Stay tuned to Spartans FC Women for up-to-date information on that game. And of course, get yourself down to the Vanlock Community Stadium as the run-in continues for the Spartans Women, and also keep an eye on social media platforms for any future hospitality dates that we will be planning. Jack, thank you very much for your time
Thanks for
this
having me.
morning. And up next on the Spartan Army podcast, we'll be focusing on Spartans Men in their promotion race as well, coming up on Spartan Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services.
Hi, Spartans Women's Captain Rob McCafferty here. Thank you for listening to the Spartans Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services.
Well, looking back on Saturday's result then, and Spartans picked up all 3 points at the Meadowbank Leisure Centre. A Derby Day delight. A solid second half performance from Spartans, see they claimed all 3 points and a clean sheet on the road to Edinburgh City. The first half wasn't much in it, in horrible conditions up at Meadowbank, but the second half dominant Spartans performance made sure that they took all 3 points back to Pilton. The first goal came from a James Craigan corner, whipped into the danger area, and it fell ever so kindly to Mark McNulty, who scored his 12th goal of the season in the league to give Spartans a 1-0 lead. And then, from a corner kick again, Mark Stowe scored his 18th goal of this season. And it was straight from the corner, looped in over the Edinburgh City goalkeeper into the back post. And Spartans doubled their advantage around the 70th minute mark. And then it was game, set and match for Spartans against Edinburgh City. It was like deja vu. Mark Stowe corner into the penalty area, and Ayrton Sonker rose the highest and smashed his header into the back of the net for Spartans to claim all 3 points on the road to Edinburgh City. Dougie Samuel's 600th match in charge for the Spartans, and that win was his 346th win as Spartans manager. Other games, 93 draws, 161 defeats. That's an astonishing win record of 58% for the man in charge of the Spartans. He'll take charge of game number 601 this Saturday as Spartans face Stranraer at the Vanlock Community Stadium in the William Hill SPFL League 2. And of course, Spartans will be looking for revenge against Stranraer, because last time out at the Vanlock Community Stadium, Stranraer strolled into a 4-0 lead at half-time, and that's where it finished as well back in November. And then back in February as well, Stranraer scored a 90th minute winner to defeat Spartans at Stair Park. Earlier on in the season, however, on the 13th of September, Jamie Dishington and Mark McNulty were on the score sheet as Spartans picked up a 2-0 victory down at Stranraer itself. Tickets are now available on the Fanbase app. A little moment, we'll be getting the thoughts of Brian from Stranraer on his thoughts ahead of this Saturday's crunch game at the Vanlock. So we're back on this Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services, and it's a huge game at the Vanlock Community Stadium tomorrow. Spartans hosting Stranraer. Really, really grateful to be joined by Brian from Stranraer. Very good morning to you, Brian.
Hi, good morning, Kyle. How you doing?
Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you getting on, and how's your season been so far down at Stranraer?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. It's been a good season for us so far. We finished 8th last season, so we're just outside the playoff position in 5th. Doing really well this season. We didn't know what to expect because we signed a lot of guys from west of Scotland and Lowland League, but after the signing, I think it's been a success. I can't really think anybody who's not been a success. So it's been a really good season, and it's we're in a far better position than what maybe say a couple of seasons ago, so I'm quite chuffed.
Good to hear. And obviously, as you mentioned there, it's been a vast improvement for Stranraer over the past season compared to the past couple of seasons. And to be honest, Brian, having a look at the results and even the games going back at the Vanlock Community Stadium this year, I have to say, I think I was impressed by Stranraer the most back in November when you strolled into a 4-0 lead against Spartans at half-time. Of course, the game ended up 4-0, so a vast improvement. What should Stranraer fans expect from the game tomorrow against Spartans?
Well, as I say, I watched that the first game, but I think every time we attacked, we scored. Well, one of the guys who did score in our first game, Mark Russell, he's no longer with the club. He's now at Spartan Army, having moved in January. So, I mean, it's going to be a tight game. Usually it's with the Spartans. You know, I was just saying in our own podcast, I shouldn't maybe say this, and maybe come back to bite me, but he's only scored 20 at the Van Lock this season in the league, which is quite low for a team who's sitting, high up the league. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a right tight game. I'm quite sure we'll not go all guns forward, gung-ho in the first 5 or 10 minutes. We'll settle into the game as we usually do. And I think it could be a right good game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Of course, Spartans have all to play for. Stranraer have all to play for as well. Looking at your games going further ahead in the scene, you've got Annan, you've got Forfar, you've got Stirling, and you've got away to Elgin. How do you rate your chances in your push for the playoffs?
So we've got Stirling and Forfar both at the Lime Stadium, that's their park. So, I mean, you'd like to think you could get your 6 points there. I've been on my own podcast saying that probably 50 points will be enough. And that's what we're looking for, I think. Another 10 points should see you in the playoffs. We play Elgin the final game of the season, which could be a cracker, depending on the results up to it. But, we've got you tomorrow at the Van Lock, and I have to come Gretna have to come there. So, I'm saying Gretna. Elgin have to, I don't know how to get Elgin mixed up with Gretna. Elgin have to come there as well. So, it's going to be quite a finish to the season. And of course, these boys are going for the league title. So, it should be quite a game tomorrow.
Definitely, and you can get your tickets on the fan base app for tomorrow's game against Stranraer. Any Stranraer players to look out for tomorrow if they're attending the game, Brian? The likes of Lang, who's your top goal scorer with 9 goals in the league so far. Any other players that they should look out for?
I obviously Darren Lang up top. As you say, Kyle's been our top goal scorer this season. He's had a bit fitness issues recently, but hopefully he'll start tomorrow. We've got probably the best, we think is the best centre back in League Two in Lewis Reid. I think he's being watched by various clubs. So, I mean, he's quite a player. Evan Dunn has come on to a game. He scored twice at the Lime Stadium at Stair Park recently. So he's come on to a bit of a game. But it's as I say, it's a team effort, and most of the team have been putting in a great effort this season.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. Brian, thank you very much for joining us on the Spartan Army podcast, proudly brought to us by Jaff's Decorating Services. Unfortunately, I won't see you tomorrow, as I believe that your dog's sitting, but hopefully in the near future, either at the Van Lock Community Stadium or down at Stair Park, maybe even in League One next season, we could be seeing each other. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Brian, thank you so much again, and we look forward to talking to you in the near future.
No problem, Kyle.
Thank you once again from Brian from Stranraer on his thoughts on tomorrow's game in the William Hill SPFL League 2. Just a quick one to mention, we do face the Linlithgow Rose at Linlithgow in the East of Scotland Cup final next Tuesday. Admission prices, kick-off time we do not have as of yet, but please check social media platform at Spartans FC for all the latest information. And it's a great opportunity for Spartans to win a little bit of silverware. Of course, we played Kelty Hearts in the semi-final, picking up a 1-goal victory. Oscar Fitzsimmons scored that game, so it's a really hybrid feel to the team in these East of Scotland games. It's a great opportunity for some of the first team players who don't get a lot of minutes within the SPFL games to really kick on and show what they can do in a Spartan shirt. And of course, the under-20s, I think 7 made their first senior team appearance against Kelty Hearts previously. So definitely one to keep up to date with on all social media platforms at Spartans FC. And the East of Scotland Cup final, it's Spartans against Linlithgow Rose next Tuesday. So with us on the Spartan Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services, we've got the Spartans Football Club Head of Fan Growth and Engagement, Greg McEwan. Greg, a very good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. And basically this morning, it's just first of all, to an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the Spartan Army. Who are you? What do you do?
As you said, I have recently been appointed as the head of fan growth at the club. I've been in and around the club for 4 or 5 years now. My little boy came through the community foundation, so he started going in there since he was 3. So my son and my daughter go through the community foundation coaching. My little boy is now in the academy with the 2018s. My wife plays in the recreational football on a Thursday night. I coached the 2018, sponsor the 2018, so I'm actually at Ainsley Park more often than I am in Moan House. So it was a great opportunity to come in and use my professional expertise and try and help Craig and the rest of the board and the wider club develop that fan growth. So I've been in and around football for longer than I care to remember. I love the sport. I've been involved from junior football right through to the Premiership, and I spent 3 years at Hibs. Been assistant manager at Celtic Hearts with Thomas Courts, who's now sunning himself in Saudi Arabia whilst we're freezing over here in Edinburgh. So yeah, been around the game a long time, so hopefully I've got some expertise to be able to bring to the table.
And talk us through your experience at Hibernian. What did you do, and how was it with such a one of Scotland's biggest clubs?
Sure. I went into Hibs as the head of marketing and brand partnerships. I was actually Ron Gordon's first business hire back in the day. So I went in there December 2019, so perfect timing for the pandemic striking in March. So that clearly threw everybody a curveball at the time. But one of the things that I try and pride myself on is try and do things a little bit differently. I don't like just copying what other people do. I did that when I was in my role at the R&A before I went to Hibs as well. And when I was at Hibs, we'd done things like the thank you NHS message in the front of kit. Obviously, the pandemic put paid to a number of commercial agreements, so we managed to get good revenue and put out that thank you NHS message in the front of kit, and it actually took us to markets we never knew that we could ever get to in the secondary fan and things like that. And that's part of the experiences that hopefully I can bring into Spartans, because yes, we're looking to grow the fan base and double the attendance over the next sort of 3 years, but there's also people across the globe that have got a soft spot for the club, and how can we then use them to like bring in extra revenue, help Graham like push potential sponsorships and things like that. So started off in that role at Hibs, and then ended up being the interim CEO for best part of 9 months, which was a sink or swim moment. Loved it. Loved working with Jack Ross in the team. Finished third in the league, made the Scottish Cup final, which we won't talk about, and spent my final year at the club as a commercial director. So really enjoyable time. Loved the club, and as I say, just massive fan of football and just trying to implement things that I would like as a football fan. And you're not going to get everything right. Absolutely not saying that I have done, and there's been plenty of things I got wrong, including hiring Graham. But yeah, it's been a great career so far, and yeah, hopefully the learnings from my time at Hibs can prove fruitful for the guys at Spartans as well.
And you've been with Spartans Spartans involved in terms of the youth section and the community foundation, but actually in this role of head of fan growth and engagement for a couple of months now. I think it was actually back in October you were appointed. How are you settling into that role, and what kind of challenges do you have?
So you're right, it's been about 7 or 8 weeks I've been in the role. So it's been a interesting time. It's been lifting the bonnet of the club and having a number of conversations, not just with the men's team or the women's team, but also the youth section, the community foundation, and how we can try and work collaboratively and achieving that shared dream. So there's been a lot of conversations, looking at a lot of the systems and processes that are in place, looking at how we can better those, looking at the flow of communication, which you're obviously doing a great job with the podcast, but what else can we do around the club to make sure that the messaging gets out? And then how can we actually grow our database? So yes, we're talking to our own fans, but how can we take it beyond that? In case an example of like the East Kilbride game, when we promoting the Hibs and Hearts season ticket holders getting for a tenner, and some people think, oh wow, that's a great new initiative. It's not a new initiative, it's been around for a long time. So it's like, how can we make sure that we're getting that out to the right people? Because if we're just constantly talking to our own fans, then we're running to stand still effectively. So having a bit of a review, looking at all the processes, and there'll be a proposal that goes to the board in a few weeks' time.
And even just having a look at the most recent game, 1,300 inside the Vanlock Community Stadium. Give credit where credit due. East Kilbride brought 300 odd fans through, but you still got 1,000 Spartan armies there. 1,000 members of the Spartan Army. So it's great to see. And for a league game, for that many home fans, I mean, I've been involved with the club nearly 15 years now, from the Spartans Community Foundation, all the low and league days with the football club, all the way through to where we are now. It is always difficult in Edinburgh because you have, the two Premiership teams in Hibernian Hearts. You have a lot of people in Edinburgh who support the teams through in Glasgow as well. And Spartans really establishing themselves as the number one Edinburgh team out with the Premiership teams. And North Edinburgh is growing. We know it's growing. There's so many new houses being built, and so many more new people moving into the area from out with Edinburgh. Is our focus to get them into a game at the Vanlock Community Stadium, whether that be the men's, the men's or the women's football, and really get them to see the attractiveness of the club and the community side of it as well, to then get them back in.
100%. There is no magic wand. There is no flicking of the switch. There's no untapped group of fans that we could just easily go to and flood the Vanlock Stadium with the numbers that we're looking for. It has to be a number of different things. And yeah, you're right. You've got Hibs and Hearts fans, absolutely, the two Premiership clubs. But we've got a great affinity with both clubs. I even remember doing some collaboration work with Spartans when I worked at Hibs. So a lot of the fans of both clubs will happily come to the Vanlock Community Stadium on a Saturday and support Spartans when their team's away from home, as the East Kilbride game showed. Because let's be honest, that 1,000 fans that you mentioned, they're not all Spartans fans primarily. Spartans are a secondary secondary club for them. So that's a market that you want to look at. But like Graham and I have spoken about partnerships that we already have in existence with the likes of Nielsen's or the Village Hotel, because one of the things that we look at, you've got within a 1.5 mile radius, you've got like 50,000 people that live from various different demographics. You've got the hotel that's bustling most weekends on a doorstep that a lot of fans go to for a pint before the game or a pint after the game. So how can we strengthen those connections? How can we get in with house builders? So when you buy a house, you more often than not, when you buy a new house, you'll go in, you'll have a kettle and an oven glove. So, oh yeah, great, thanks very much. Why can't there be a letter from their local football club to say, welcome to the neighbourhood, there's a couple of tickets to a game, come and see us when you've moved in? Like that sort of thing is a way that you can bring people to the table and introduce them to the club. You've got the community foundation, you've got 770 kids in the youth section. How can we, out of the 770, you might have 600 of them that are Hibs or Hearts season ticket holders, or any of the Glasgow clubs. But I've actually been delighted to see so many kids from the 2018s at various games over the last couple of months. So it's trying to build that connection. So there's a raft of different areas that need to be tapped into. And I think that one of my biggest engagements with the club has actually been with the women's team, because I mentioned my wee boy when he was 3 coming to the club. His very first coach was Robin McCaffrey. And he loves seeing Robin, he loves watching Robin on the telly, and when Callie was there and coaching, and Alicia and everything else. They have such an affinity with the women's team. So it's how you can take that engagement that they have at community, like Little Kickers or anything like that, and take that through to building the crowd on a Sunday. Because hopefully, all going well, we can have the two clubs gaining promotion this year, which would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's on. The chances are there for both clubs to get promoted back, for the women's team into SWPL 1 and the Spartans into League 1 as well. That's a bit about bringing new fans to North Edinburgh and to the Vanlock Community Stadium. The fans that have been there through the journey, through the Lowland League, and new fans over the past couple of years that have enjoyed SPL football, they are the reason why Spartans have been doing so well and continue to do so well. What would you say to them in terms of even though the club is changing, it's growing and it's continuing to get bigger? What would you say to the fans who have seen the lower leagues and then to the SPFL journey?
They're the heartbeat of the club. Excuse me. It goes without saying that, as you've mentioned, they've been part of that journey from day one. So this isn't all about just bringing in new fans. It's about engaging with the current fans and making them feel valued and part of it, and helping develop that wider fan base on the longer term. obviously it goes without saying that there's been a lot of change. Like, we're no longer a Lowland League club. So with that, there needs to become a bit of a mindset change. Not for all the fans, but for everybody associated with the club. Because if we're going to go into League One, or hopefully beyond that and into Championship, then you're talking the different levels of professionalism that were in existence in League One. In the Lowland League. So these guys that have been part of that journey, please, I'm all ears. I am more than honest and transparent, and people around the club know that. And I am, doors always open. And if anybody wants to throw ideas or anything like that, just get in touch.
Definitely. And Greg, growing up, watching football, who's your team? Do you have many magical memories of growing up watching football?
I was brought up in a mining village in Fife, so I was brought up with junior football. The mighty Dundonald Bluebell were my team growing up. My family still live in the village, and my dad still goes to the games. So I used to take my little football and go and play in the corner, and get to be in team photos and stuff as a kid. So yeah, loved the village mentality, and following a junior football team, and they were very successful back then. Been harder times of late, but the pyramid structures made it difficult for a number of clubs, as everybody listening is more than well aware. But yeah, so grew up watching Dundonald, and then it was Raith Rovers I used to go and watch. My mum worked in Kirkcaldy, so we used to go and watch Raith, and then pick my mum up after work. So I always wound up the guys at Hibs when I worked here talking about the best European night that I've ever seen at Easter Road, and they were all going on about various Hibernian games, and it's like, no, Raith Rovers Bayern Munich was a great night. So yeah, I remember getting the bus over from Kirkcaldy for that. So yeah, loads of great memories as a kid, watching football, and I'm just a football fan. Love watching football on the TV, and just like to try and help clubs achieve what they're trying to achieve.
And then shifting gears back to Spartans, and 2 home league games left. Why should fans come down and really get behind the boys for the men's team? And then a few home games left for the women. Why should they come down to their games?
It's the business end of the season. The weather's getting better. It's a bit warmer. It's more appealing for people on a Saturday afternoon or a midweek, or a Sunday afternoon for the women. So especially the women's game's a great family occasion, as is the Saturday with the men's game. You've seen on the back of the East Kilbride game how the guys left their performance, especially that second half. I thought they were excellent in that second half against East Kilbride. So having that buzz of a crowd there, it makes a big difference. So I know it's an old cliche, but they can be the difference. They can be that 12th man. So yeah, I would urge anybody who has that spare time to get along and either to the Stranraer game, the Elgin game, or both, and then follow the women on their journey. And if it ends up being playoff matches for both, then we'll need everybody to get right behind us and help us over that line.
Definitely. So it is 2 league home games left for the Spartans. Stranraer tomorrow, Saturday the 11th of April. Tickets available on the Fanbase app, and then against Elgin on the 25th of April. Again, tickets available on the Fanbase app. Keep an eye out on social media for hospitality opportunities, as well as match sponsorship, match ball sponsorships, and captain sponsorships available as well. Keep an eye out for that on all social media platforms. But Greg, thank you very much for your time this morning. Of course, Spartans Women have 2 home games left as well. On the 29th of April against Queen's Park, it's Wednesday night, and then on the 17th of May against Dundee United. As Greg says, the business end of the season is approaching us for the Spartans. Greg, thank you very much once again. We'll be back on the Spartan Army podcast, brought to you by Jaff's Decorating Services, very shortly. The race for promotion is on for Spartans, and your support is very much needed. Spartans take on Stranraer tomorrow, Saturday the 11th of April, a 3 o'clock kickoff in the William Hill SPFL League 2. And then next week on the Saturday the 18th of April, Spartans travel to Annan as they take on Annan Athletic. And then on the 25th of April, it is our last home league game, Spartans taking on Elgin. Tickets available on the Fanbase app, and limited hospitality seats remain with potential sponsorship opportunities available. Stay tuned to all social media platforms at Spartans FC, Spartan Army, get down and cheer on the Spartans. And that's it for this week's episode of the Spartan Army podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Next week, we will be hearing from under-20s coaches Gary and Les, a little bit about Terry Burns, and also an in-depth conversation with Chris Sim, the assistant head coach of the Spartans Women. A big thank you once again to the main sponsor, Jaff's Decorating Services, and of course to Terry Burns himself for lending us his studio here in Leith, for bringing you the Spartan Army podcast. From myself, Kyle Patterson, it's a very good weekend to everyone, and on the Spartans!